Hi, I'm Nat.
And I'm Guy. And top stories today is Javier Milei and the cryptocurrency scandal, as well as Kash Patel gets confirmed as director of the FBI. But first, 15 minutes from the intelligent Nat.
The sort of intelligent Nat. Perdón, sí. Siempre estoy semi preparada para estos en vivos, pero se hace lo que se puede. Para los que vayan llegando, todavía no hay nadie, pero esperemos que no se caiga porque estamos teniendo veo que se está como enojando el en vivo con nosotros, pero bueno. Primera noticia, y normalmente trato de no traer noticias de Estados Unidos o que no tengan nada que ver con México, pero para los que les interese o los que quieran saber, la última confirmación importante de los nominados por Donald Trump a puestos en agencias y etcétera del gobierno de Estados Unidos fue Kash Patel. Y Kash Patel era la nominación más importante para el ahora gobierno de Donald Trump. ¿Por qué? Porque, por ejemplo, RFK Jr., Robert F. Kennedy Jr., o Tulsi Gabbard, que ahora también se fue con Seguridad Nacional, RFK Jr. con el Departamento de Salud, y ahora Kash Patel, y Pam Bondi, por ejemplo, también, que ya fue aceptada, pero Kash Patel era el más importante como director del FBI, porque él ha estado básicamente de la mano y estuvo en la administración anterior de Donald Trump hace 4 años y fue instrumental para destapar todo el meollo que hubo con Rusia y las acusaciones que se le hicieron por parte de los demócratas a Donald Trump sobre Rusia y sobre que Rusia lo había estado apoyando y lo apoyó a obtener votos y a ganar durante las últimas elecciones, que eventualmente se comprobó y confirmó que pues no era cierto, y se llamó todo el escándalo, se llamó Russiagate. Si ven que mi cámara se mueve es porque Guy anda moviendo cosas. Y ahora el hecho de que lo hayan confirmado es otra de esas confirmaciones donde ahora va a estar adentro la persona que básicamente el FBI estuvo persiguiendo y atormentando durante los últimos, pues ahora sí que desde la administración pasada de Donald Trump. Kash Patel es un abogado de profesión, pero cuando estuvo dentro de la administración de Donald Trump fue instrumental para varias cosas de las cuales no se supieron hasta después del gran impacto que tuvo. Me voy al artículo. El Senado de Estados Unidos confirma a Kash Patel, elegido de Donald Trump, como director del FBI. El Senado votó este jueves, hoy, para confirmar a Kash Patel como director, lo que ubica a un leal defensor del presidente Donald Trump y un incendiario conservador al frente de la principal agencia de aplicación de la ley del país. Y el problema es que esta agencia de aplicación de la ley del país ha sido y se ha demostrado ser hipercorrupta, es de las más corruptas que hay, y obviamente por el hecho de que manejan mucha información muy sensible y etcétera, es muy fácil esconder varias cosas. Otro punto por el cual es importante que Kash Patel haya sido elegido y que ahora cumpla su palabra es que durante toda la campaña de Donald Trump y su propia campaña para ser director del FBI, estuvo dice que quería destapar y desclasificar o declasificar, bueno, destapar los archivos y todo lo que pasó con Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein, no sé si puedo decir el nombre, pero bueno, fue el señor asqueroso que básicamente tenía toda una isla donde tenía un servicio de transporte de mujeres y niñas, a veces menores de edad, para fines nefarios, varias veces de, ¿cómo se dice? Blackmail. Bueno, para extorsionar políticos o celebridades y otras personas del medio. Y esto fue descubierto y luego tapado y escondido e investigado por el FBI, y cuyos archivos, ahora que este señor ha pasado, espero que a peor vida, ahora que Jeffrey Epstein ya no está en este plano, espero que esté en un plano mucho más feo y que le estén haciendo todo lo que le hizo a estas mujeres. Pues los archivos y quiénes eran sus clientes, todos estos políticos y celebridades y personas del medio, pues quedaron selladas, toda esa información quedó sellada y está bajo llave con el FBI. Y ahora la persona que podría ayudar y sería instrumental en destapar todo esto para saber quiénes eran los clientes y por ende quienes pues estaban haciendo este tipo de cosas, quienes tienen cosas con que chantajearlos o extorsionarlos, que siguen en el poder o que son dueños de empresas multimillonarias o que tienen mucho poder dentro de no solo Estados Unidos, pero el mundo. Ahora se podría por fin saber sus nombres. Y este señor, Kash Patel, prometió que iba a dar acceso, iba a destapar todos estos nombres y todo lo que pasó con el caso de Jeffrey Epstein. Entonces ahora falta ver, porque se fue a todos los podcasts imaginables, no puedo hablar, todos los podcasts imaginables a decir que eso era lo que iba a ser básicamente día 1. Y lo volvió a reiterar ahora que pues ya fue aceptado como el siguiente director del FBI. Entonces falta ver que sí lo haga, número 1. O número 2, si por ejemplo tiene algunas trabas para enfocarse en lo de Jeffrey Epstein, pues tiene muchas otras oportunidades para destapar muchas otras cosas que el FBI ha hecho. Entonces que por lo menos saque algo al principio. Pero esta básicamente era la última nominación importante para el gobierno de Donald Trump para ahora sí poder empezar a pues limpiar y sacar todas las cucarachas que están ahí metidas en el gobierno de Estados Unidos. Obviamente va a tomar tiempo. Dice que no está lo suficientemente...
Next story.
No, I'm saying the stream is not smooth enough. Parece que hay problemas con el stream otra vez, no sé por qué. Pero pues aquí me marca que todo está bien, entonces déjame checar mi Wi-Fi. No, estoy en Wi-Fi porque cada vez que conectamos la computadora al router no funciona, siempre se cae. Entonces esperemos que se desentonte. Voy a tratar de cerrar algunas páginas a ver si eso ayuda. Espérenme. Soy de esas personas que tiene 45 cosas abiertas a la vez. Entonces, bueno. Pasemos a la siguiente historia porque si no se me acaba el tiempo, ya que son 15 minutos en español. Y quería hablar rápido sobre este caso de Fátima, la niña presuntamente acosada por gustarle el K-pop, se recupera atrás, no se cayó, parece que la tiraron o la llevaron a que cayera las que le estaban haciendo bullying o molestando de un tercer piso de su escuela. Y Fátima Zavala, una joven de 13 años, se recupera en un hospital de una fractura de cadera y pelvis luego de caer de un tercer piso. No se cayó, pero bueno, en una escuela de la Ciudad de México donde cursa la secundaria. La Fiscalía de Justicia de la Ciudad de México informó en un comunicado que investiga la caída ocurrida el 4 de febrero en la escuela secundaria número 236. Y parece que la caída, como dice la madre, fue después de un periodo muy largo de bullying o de molestar por compañeras de la escuela porque le gustaba el K-pop. Y mientras podría hablar sobre este caso durante mucho tiempo, porque creo que hay bastantes, sí, me encanta decir la palabra trasfondo, pero hay bastantes matices que vienen con ella. Primero que nada quiero decir que agreder al punto de agreder físicamente a alguien nunca está bien, no importa la razón, el motivo, etcétera. En especial hoy en día con estas juventudes, y ahorita que voy llegando a México, porque en Canadá, más bien cuando vivía allá y trabajé en una escuela un rato secundaria, en Canadá, pues sí había como... se portaban mal, pero no era a tal grado de agredir ya físicamente, más que en un caso muy extraordinario y fue alguien le dio un zape a alguien más y se volvió todo un rollo. Pero con esta historia y con la historia de la influencer que decidió tomar un utensilio de cocina y básicamente tratar de desvivir a como se pudiera a la ex de su pareja, y todas estas personas o siguen siendo, la agresora sigue siendo, me parece, hasta dentro de unos meses, pero o siguen siendo o fueron menores de edad hasta hace muy poco, pero también pues ya deberían de empezar a pensar un poquito más como adultos. Todos estos casos que veo en México me hacen pensar como, ¿por qué traen tanta violencia y bronca los chavos? Me siento como señora viejita. ¿Y qué se les está enseñando y qué los está llevando a hacer todo esto? En especial, pues aquí pues no creo que haya una importancia tanto de clases más que pues, por ejemplo, qué tipo de abogados te pueden sacar del desastre en el que te metiste. Y además el hecho de que, pues ahora vemos con el caso de la influencer, que decidió tratar de desvivir a otra señorita, ahora una pareja de su ex novio y hijo de su papá, papá de su hija que ahora tiene 6 meses, ¿qué los está llevando a hacer todo esto y qué tipo de influencia tiene lo que están viendo día a día, no solo en el país, pero en el mundo? ¿Y por qué no se les está poniendo un alto antes de que llegue a esto? ¿Dónde están los papás? ¿En qué situación están los papás? ¿Qué tipo de supervisión tienen? ¿Cuánto se les está permitiendo hacer? Etcétera, etcétera. Cuando yo era joven en la Ciudad de México, pues, o sea, sí nos tenían bastante vigilados, pero también habían, siento que muchas más libertades que, por ejemplo, a los niños que son de Canadá, que fueron con los que me tocó tratar. Ellos más bien están al revés, viven adentro de una burbuja. Pero con el caso del K-pop también quiero mencionar que hay un hilo bastante corto que conecta al K-pop y todas estas, el anime y etcétera, y no quiero sonar como, no sé si saben quién es Michael Knowles, pero no quiero sonar como Michael Knowles diciendo que cualquiera que vea anime se va a volver gay, etcétera. No, pero sí hay algo que conecta mucho a las personas que les atrae el K-pop y el anime y etcétera, con pues sentirse marginados de la sociedad o que tienen gustos, otros gustos que pues difieren de la norma y normalmente por eso también los molestan. Entonces me encantaría, y hay una conexión entre las niñas que empiezan a sentirse incómodas con sus cuerpos, a veces por autismo, a veces por otras razones, y encuentran en el anime y el K-pop y la cultura asiática ejemplos de, por ejemplo, niños que les gustaría empezar a emular. Y aquí estoy haciendo una conexión entre las niñas que deciden tratar de transicionar y decir que son niños o que tienen inconformidad con su cuerpo, disforia de género, pero no creo que muchas veces no creo que sea en serio, es más bien por cosas internas o que les podrían haber pasado o por autismo. Pero hay una conexión ya bastante clara entre la cultura del anime y el K-pop y etcétera, sentirse no acorde con tus compañeros y pues la disforia de género y etcétera. Entonces, en este caso me encantaría saber, pero obviamente pues tiene 13 años esta niña y nunca le debería de haber pasado lo que le pasó, pero me encantaría saber si ahí también había una conexión que va más allá de solo porque le gustaba el K-pop. Y creo que no, pues, los medios tradicionales y ni sus papás, y no creo que tengan la obligación de hacerlo, pero me encantaría saber si también tiene que ver con eso y qué quiere decir si ya está. Pues yo creo que ya, porque he visto niñas bailando K-pop en la Ciudad de México, pero me encantaría saber si en este caso también era eso y si el bullying también era por eso. Pero en cualquier caso, tengo una opinión, y ahora sí, me tocó trabajar como 3 años en una escuela secundaria en Canadá y va a sonar muy feo y muy fuerte, pero creo que, por ejemplo, bullying verbal que lleva a un cambio positivo, ya sea, pero no bullying en serio, o sea, como decirle a alguien como, ay, no sé, languiducho, o deberías de tener más músculos, etcétera. No sé, bullying como que probablemente nos tocó a mí, a ti, a todo el mundo. Yo cuando era chiquita tenía mucho acné en la cara y me molestaban por eso, pero gracias a eso, por ejemplo, aprendí a maquillarme, busqué soluciones, etcétera. Entonces, sí es feo, pero también a veces lleva a que las personas se vuelvan a fuerzas más fuertes. Esto no quiere decir que bullying con acosos, bullying con físicamente, bullying que ya lleva a trastornos psicológicos mucho más graves. Eso obviamente está mal, pero también vi la contraparte en Canadá de no dejar que se haga ningún bullying de ningún tipo y que pues ahora la juventud no tiene ni idea de cómo ni siquiera comportarse en el mundo exterior, y cuando entran a la fuerza laboral, por ejemplo, no se saben comunicar, no saben hacer nada por sí mismos, no saben trabajar con otras personas. Y, por ejemplo, cuando alguien les da una corrección o cuando alguien les dice como no, es que no estás haciendo X o Y bien en tu trabajo o lo que sea, se sueltan a llorar y se sueltan en llanto y lágrima y pues no tienen fibra ni fuerza más allá de lo que los apoyaban sus mamás. Pero bueno, creo que ya no está haciendo sentido lo que estoy diciendo. Ya me está viendo Guy con cara de me toca hablar a mí. Entonces, vámonos con la porción en inglés. Hay muchas noticias, bastantes de Estados Unidos. Entonces, si ya se hartaron de el español o de las noticias en inglés, pues de eso va ahorita. Pero espero que tengan muy buena noche. Si ya se van, si solo venían a lo español, pues muchas gracias por verme en español. Si no me explayé o entendí bien en lo que estaba diciendo el bullying, voy a seguir hablando sobre esto. Entonces, no lo tomen como cosa concreta que estoy diciendo ahorita. Más bien estaba dando mi opinión muy al aire. Y rápido, antes tú, papi Rafa, muchísimas gracias por el super chat de 20 pesos y por decirme que si nos ves bien, ya se mejoró aquí todo. Entonces, muchos saludos y vámonos a la sección en inglés. There we go. Sorry. I was trying to explain why the stream wasn't
If you want to go more than 15 minutes, you're more than welcome.
But you have a lot of stories to do tonight.
We have a lot more Spanish viewers than we do with English, but...
True.
Okay, let's get right into it. Last night there was a lot of questions over the Javier Milei scandal with the cryptocurrency. I didn't know enough about it, so I didn't really want to talk about it. I did some research today, and we'll read the headlines and then we'll kind of get into our opinions about it. Javier Milei promoted a cryptocurrency called Dollar Libra on X shortly after he endorsed the cryptocurrency. The price of the cryptocurrency collapsed, costing investors billions. He's now facing calls for impeachment. Now, calls for impeachment within Argentina are fairly common, so I don't expect it to go anywhere. But the government is also going to conduct an internal and an external investigation, an internal party investigation, and an external overall government investigation into the trading of cryptocurrency. Now, there was a couple other points. The people that got him involved in this cryptocurrency scam were a group of people that typically run cryptocurrency scams within the United States. They had previously run a similar scam with the Melania Trump coin, which was a pump and dump scheme. And we had Dave in the same cryptocurrency scam that Javier was just kind of involved in. David Portnoy from Barstool Sports was also involved in that. Portnoy gave a statement out saying that they had offered him a bunch of the crypto coin. He originally took it, then gave it back, bought a bunch on his own, and then promoted the coin. And then he dumped the coin in a classic pump and dump scheme, I guess. But do you got anything to say about this before I give my overall opinion?
Well, now it appears that Argentina's Milei faces fraud probe after boosting a crypto coin that crashed hours after its launch. And as I said yesterday, with anything that has to do with financial products, financial schemes, financial things that people are recommending to you, always talk to a financial advisor or somebody you trust, and don't just trust people on the internet. Doesn't matter if they're your favorite influencer, your favorite political commentator, or even the president. That's the same thing I said yesterday. But you can.
Well, with this, what I will say is I absolutely love Javier Milei, and I like what he's doing in Argentina.
Yeah.
But everything he's doing in Argentina requires high level of trust, and I think this is definitely a strike against him. But it could be a good thing because now people are going to really watch him closely, and it's one of the reasons I also like Donald Trump. He's watched like a hawk, so anything he does wrong is instantly put out in the media. Also, the reason I think this is a strike against Javier Milei, he doesn't have plausible deniability like somebody like the Toda girl does, that she's just stupid and she doesn't understand what a pump and dump scheme is. He's an economist. He's not only an economist, he's an economist trying to recover his own currency, get onto the American currency, and eventually get onto crypto. If his overall plan, in which he speaks in detail quite often about, is to get the country on a cryptocurrency, that means he knows a lot about cryptocurrency, and he definitely knows what a pump and dump scheme is. He also said people that had invested in this coin, it's like gambling, it's like a casino, and they need to take responsibility for it. It's not his fault, which is not necessarily like what I want to hear from from him. Also, he has made a lot of enemies, cutting different departments and thousands of jobs out of the government. So maybe he does need money and he's thinking he has to defend himself. I don't know. But there's definitely reasons why he would want to make a lot of money other than just being rich. He's definitely going to be under attack after he's president, or even right now when he is president. The one good thing he does have going for him is he's extremely close with the American administration. They absolutely love him. He gave Elon Musk a chainsaw today for Doge, and that was a very, very public event. He's been very close with Trump. Trump absolutely loves Javier Milei. So Trump and the Trump administration and people surrounding Trump have also been involved in these crypto schemes in the past few months and years. So Javier Milei, I would expect to get some cover fire from the Trump administration if things start to escalate within these investigations within Argentina. They really need Javier Milei right now more than ever because he has such a good relationship with Donald Trump and that administration. I am a little bit disappointed in him overall, though.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if you mentioned it, but he is an economist, or was an economist.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he should know better. And maybe should own up a little bit more to his mistakes. We know he's usually very brash and doesn't care and I'll do whatever I want. But in this case, I mean, you are the leader of a country that misled probably lots and lots of people that are now going to be very, very angry with you, probably your own supporters. So talking a little bit more at least about apologizing or saying what could be done now that the mistake has been done. I think he's trying to cover himself a bit too much and acting a little bit too much like a teenager.
Well, I would also say that he's not only an economist, he's an extremely well-read economist. He's impressed me in all of his interviews he does when he does speak in depth about the economy. Recently, he went on the Lex Friedman podcast, and they spoke in depth. So it's not the typical soundbite, chainsaw, Javier Milei you get. It was actually an in-depth conversation about economics, and he really did impress me. I will say he is a libertarian, and there is I like a lot of libertarian ideas, but there is a dark side to libertarianism, just like, I mean, maybe there is a dark side to Javier Milei. People are going to have to keep an eye on him from this point forward, I think, especially if he gets the country involved in cryptocurrency. Right now, this is just a personal scandal that he's involved in, but imagine if he used the country of Argentina for... get them involved in a cryptocurrency and things like that, which would, right now there's a lot of hope in Argentina and a lot of hope in the rest of the world looking at Argentina because they have made major reforms and very few countries have done it. And he does have a real economic plan that's different than a lot of other countries. I want to see how it turns out, and I don't want corruption to be the downfall of Argentina like it has in the past.
And a lot of hope in cryptocurrency, which I think is sometimes pretty misplaced. And again, thank you very much to Papi Rafa. You hadn't been here for a while yesterday because we've been changing the times a lot. But thank you so much for your 50 peso super chat.
Oh, thank you.
And says the Haktua coin was another scam. At this point, can we still say that people that get scammed with meme coins are victims? And I kind of agree that, I mean, to a point, by now, I mean, you do have to be fiscally, financially responsible with whatever you invest in. And that is the responsibility ultimately of either your advisor, if you hire one, that's why you hire one, or of yourself and whatever you're investing in. But what do you think?
Well, I completely agree with him, but also I think it's a little bit different of a situation with Javier Milei because he's spoken so openly about cryptocurrency. When he spoke about this, maybe they were thinking this was the cryptocurrency Argentina was going to eventually adopt, and if that's the case, they want to support Argentina and Milei. Milei's an economist. It does not look good. The Haktua girl is a completely different situation, or somebody like Jake Paul or Mike Tyson or some famous person. It's really, I really put it on the individual investing in the coin in those situations. Mm-hmm. This is a lot different situation. Argentina is doing a lot of things experimentally in their economic situation. And if Javier Milei promotes a cryptocurrency, and if people have the idea that maybe Argentina is going to adopt that cryptocurrency, they're going to invest to help the country of Argentina itself, not just trying to gain profit for themselves.
Yeah, this one's, I would say, a lot more serious because it involves a president and people, exactly, maybe thinking that it is going to be the new, because we have seen other Latin American countries also kind of adopt cryptocurrency. And I will continue to say I am skeptical about all the imaginary money stored in a computer somewhere.
Well, I also do say all these things I said about Javier Milei ultimately just come from a good place. I like the guy. I like what he's doing with Argentina. I'm a little bit disappointed in this story, but in no way, shape, or form do I want to see him impeached or removed from government. I still have a lot of belief in him. I'm just going to watch him with a wary eye. But going forward...
No, but now this might actually help them try to impeach him or get rid of him. It's a great excuse because he did mess up.
Well, he made a lot of enemies when he cut all those, just like Donald Trump is making tons of enemies. You do not want to be put in a situation where they're doing an investigation or impeachment. The things that investigation could uncover are things outside of the cryptocurrency, and nobody in the government really wants Javier Milei there. The reason he's there is because of the people. Javier is maligned with the people of Argentina, and he's got a lot of support from the people, but when you have things like this come out, people are going to start being skeptical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't make him look good at all.
Going on from here, though, we got Kash Patel was confirmed today, so this was the best possible news. This was one of the most important confirmations for Donald Trump. And do you want to go into the article at all before I get into this?
Senate confirms Kash Patel as Trump's FBI director. The Senate voted on Thursday, so today, to confirm Kash Patel as FBI director, installing a staunch loyalist of President Donald Trump and conservative firebrand at the head of the nation's top law enforcement agency. The Senate voted for 51 to 49 to confirm Patel, with Republican Senators Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski joining with Democrats in voting against his confirmation. And the nomination, of course, faced intense scrutiny from Democrats who have warned that he is poised to use the position to seek retribution against Trump's perceived political enemies, even though he came out once again to say that he does not plan on doing that.
Okay, well, Trump had 4 big confirmations or appointments. All 4 got in. He had a lot of appointments outside of that, and all those got in as well. So the Republicans have really got in line, and Trump really has no excuse to make reforms in the government now. He got everything he needs to have his come to Jesus moment and show what the United States government has been up to for the past 100 years to realign the people with the government. Let's talk about all 4 confirmations he got. Kash Patel was by far, I think, the most important, the most outspoken, and the biggest loyalist of Trump. But we had Pam Bondi. She was appointed as Attorney General. She's on board with declassifying a lot of documents. Then we have the head of intelligence, which was Tulsi Gabbard. She's a former Democrat, came over. She's also on board with declassifying documents within the CIA and the other intelligence agencies. Then we have Robert F. Kennedy, the head of HHS, who also wants to declassify and really expose what's been going on there. And then we have Kash Patel, who is now the head of the FBI, who is also on board with declassifying documents. And then finally, we have Donald Trump on as the executive, who is also on board with declassifying these documents. And then he has a special bureau he's created to specifically gather documents and recommend them for declassification to the 4 people I just mentioned. Now, this is the first time in history anything on this scale has ever happened. You not only have the president, but you have all the people running the FBI, the CIA, the Justice Department, HHS, all wanting to declassify all the former scandals of the government, not just of the previous administration, but it looks like the past 50 or 100 years. They've already agreed to declassify the JFK files, the Martin Luther King files, the Malcolm X files. I mean, Kash Patel kind of ran on, even though he wasn't voted in by the people. A lot of people did write their senators and congressmen saying, you better vote for Kash Patel or we're not going to vote for you. What he ran on was declassifying the Epstein files day 1. Now, I don't necessarily expect him to declassify them day 1, but within the first couple weeks, I do expect him to do that. And if he doesn't, I'm going to be very disappointed. And also saying that if for some reason he doesn't declassify the Epstein files, he's going to have to run cover fire and declassify a lot of other things. Yeah. Sorry, that was a lot, but
no, it's okay.
I've been keeping up on this Kash Patel appointment a long time.
And I was talking about it in the Spanish section, and yes, basically just focusing on the fact that he did run on the declassification of the Epstein files, and that Epstein was gross, and the fact that if he does not do that, he could still declassify a bunch of other things, because I'm sure there's so many things that are hidden within the FBI, because that was one of the most corrupt, leechy, disgusting agencies in all of them that they're now trying to reform. That one, I think, is one of the most, and that has been used the most to prosecute and go against their enemies.
Yeah, but this wasn't it. I was actually going somewhere, and I forgot where I was going. When I was naming all the people for the heads of these departments, a lot of operations that happen are interagency, meaning the CIA and FBI people are involved, or the HHS and the FBI are involved together. So you have to have multiple declassifications from multiple agency heads. Right now, they're all on board with declassifying all the information, so they're all willing to cooperate together. So there is no excuse for things not to be declassified now.
To Papi Rafa, and I'll ask his question. Who do you think are the worst top Donald Trump picks, in your opinion? I would say that Catholic lady, not Catholic, that the religious lady we talked about, that would be number one. I don't even know her name.
Okay, she's what was the name of the department? She's
Department of Religion or something.
No, she's the
Catholicism.
The White House religious executive.
Envoy, something like that.
Yeah, but it's a non-important position, and it was important that he did create that position, but she is an absolute lunatic. She is...
Yeah, you can go back to one of our lives, and we actually played a video of her preaching or praying. I don't know. She was invoking Satan.
A lot of people that are religious wanted much more traditionalist. She's a crazy Protestant that says people should donate to the church before they pay their own electricity bills or buy food. She's constantly trying to get people to empty their wallets and give her everything they had. There is tons of video on her. I was disappointed in that appointment, but... You know, it's not an important branch of government, and it's a brand new department. Of the major people that I said, of Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel, RFK, and Pam Bondi, the one I know the least about was Pam Bondi, so I don't know if I would say her, but maybe I guess I would maybe say
worst picks. She would not be like, she's good.
She's good. Yeah, they were all.
But of the other nominations, the least important nominations, because only the religious one is the one that comes to my mind right now.
It's the only one, but the ones I would say to keep an eye on is Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, she used to be a Democrat. I really like Tulsi Gabbard, even though I'm saying this again. I would have supported her as a vice presidential nominee as well, but she is a former Democrat, and she's a former Democrat in very recent times. So could she have been placed there by the Democratic Party? Publicly walk away? Most likely not. But it just says you need to keep an eye on her.
Yes.
That's all. So she needs to really prove her loyalty within the department and stick to the declassifications and really work with Kash Patel and Pam Bondi in the future. Kash Patel is a complete loyalist. He was there in the first administration, so...
But also a lot of those in the first administration kind of messed up, and that's why he ended up,
The people in the first administration were appointed by Rhino Republicans. Kash Patel wasn't one of those people. They tried to bankrupt him on so many levels and went after him. You know he is a trustable individual because the way they went after him and tried to put him in jail.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, we have the FBI says it has thwarted a mass casualty attack at a local school in Houston, Texas.
Okay.
Now, I have a little bit of a different view on this. Why don't you read the article and give your opinion first?
Yes.
I kind of been talking a lot.
Hold on. I'm trying to find it. Okay. And I'm going to have to censor a bunch of words, so it is best that I talk about it first, because Guy is still, learning how to do the censored word. So 2 teen girls accused of planning a boom attack at Houston area high school. The alleged threat involved the girls using pew-pews and booms in a planned mass bad thing happening to a lot of people event at Memorial High School in Houston, suburb of Hedwig, who knows, Village. So they were arrested. Authorities say the girls 15 and 16 were taken into custody Tuesday, about 30 minutes after law enforcement was made aware of the threat, and whatever, names are not released because they're minors. The FBI field office in Houston said it had received information that 2 underage teenagers from Houston area were plotting a mass bad things happening to a lot of people event.
Okay, what's your opinion on this one?
I mean, the first thing, the first place my head goes to is, of course, all of the trans other plannings of big bad events, or actually going through with them.
Okay, but you're saying that when it says the two girls, did you think those were actually trans people? But because Trump is saying there's only men and women, now they're actually calling them girls that want to be born. Yeah,
Maybe.
It'd be interesting. I mean, I don't know what to think. I just can't trust the media so much when they say things in stories.
Yes, because I can't imagine two preppy girls just planning
a bomb attack.
A boom boom
attack.
This is why I have to do the reading and most talking of the things that are most censored. But I mean, the alarming thing is we have seen a lot of violence from this community, and I mean, we all predicted it would begin escalating once Trump got in and actually started doing things. But overall, it is a very small community, and even the supporters and the activists are all, I mean, it's not a lot, but we've also seen that a lot of damage can be caused by just a few people.
Okay, I do produce a lot of your videos, and I do suggest subject matter.
You produce all my videos.
And I do suggest subject matters. And the one subject matter
there are videos.
I've been keep recommending to you that you never seem to want to do is a femcel video, which this would fit directly into.
Maybe, I don't know, but I mean, yes, eventually I'll do a femcel video. The thing is, I don't know how common it is in Latin America or for people of the Spanish-speaking world, if they would be at all interested. This kind of goes along with the story I talked about bullying
with the
in Spanish, where I think I said some things that were kind of wrong. I mean, I said I didn't encourage bullying. I said no physical attacks ever, but that bullying sometimes can build a stronger personality.
Well, you're saying
I'm trying to retract myself a bit so people don't get mad at me. But I do think sometimes bullying, milder, just verbal and no like hideous attacks or anything physical, can build stronger character in children because they have to learn how to deal with that, and eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I was bullied a lot growing up, and it made me a stronger person. And I think bullying on a verbal level helps you deal with life situations later on. If it gets out of hand, that maybe administrations should come in, but I don't think there should be anti-bullying laws when it comes to verbal abuse, simply because then you're going to start infringing on free speech, and they're going to broaden it. It becomes a very slippery slope. I completely think bullying on a physical level is a crime, and police should get involved, but you don't need bullying laws to do that. That's assault or homicide or whatever else the bullying goes to. But with this particular story with the FBI, my mind went into a different place, and Kash Patel hadn't been appointed yet when they uncovered this. The FBI is really trying to prove themselves, and there's been a lot of stories like this about how the FBI has thwarted attacks recently. But I don't know if a lot of people are going to be hip to the story, but I remember the governor of Michigan, which was Gretchen Whitmer. They said they had a plot with a half a dozen people that tried to get rid of her, like a January 6th style attack, and none of that was true. The FBI had the majority of the people in the group were all FBI agents. They had entrapped these people. They had been the ones suggesting it. A lot of these people had suffered from mental retardation and things like this. So it was very easy to try to entrap these people so they could have a story to really pump up Gretchen Whitmer and get her reelected and things like this. It ended up being a complete scandal, and it fell apart because a lot of this information came about, and the conservative community really investigated what happened. And it was not like what the FBI said. So when that case came out, what information also came out, there's a ton of FBI agents online trying to entrap young people or people that aren't the sharpest.
That are like outcasts or...
Yeah, what I really want to know is, did these people, these two girls, actually have the things to make this, or did they just talk about it online to FBI agents that entrapped them? Yes. I don't know, but I know the FBI is on the chopping block right now, and they're trying to prove their worth.
Well, Pierre, there's a bit more on the story. The alleged threat involved the girls using pew-pews and placing pipe booms at the school. NBC affiliate.
Okay, wait. But
that was the threat.
Yeah, wait.
So now they can go and try to see if they actually had the materials to fulfill that threat, because when you have a specific threat, that can actually be used in court.
Well, you can get a search warrant for that.
And a search warrant, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They're saying they
were plotting.
They were plotting online,
Yeah.
so it's just words online, which maybe isn't good either. But these teenage girls, I don't think they're going to find anything there.
No, and apparently they had communications, they received communications, and which is why law enforcement acted so quickly. So where did these communications come from? How specific were they being? How much information were they leaving behind? Because that can also...
And you also have to remember the
used.
The Patriot Act is going to allow for severe prosecution of these young girls, even if they didn't have anything in their house. Mm-hmm. So,
and now with the parental thing that they also wanted to put through, I'm unclear if they ever went through or not. But the fact that if your underage child performs a mass bad thing happening to a lot of people event, you can also be charged.
Yes, so the parents can be charged.
Yeah.
There was one more thing.
But I don't know if that ever went through or not. I saw something recently about it, but I have to look into it.
There was one more thing. I can't remember. Maybe we'll just move on to the next story.
Sure.
The U.S. Catholic bishops are suing the Trump administration for funding. What was this? I typed this out wrong. I think it spell checked me by accident.
Hold on.
Anyway,
U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops sue Trump administration for cutting refugee settlement funding.
Yeah, so this had a lot to do with the USAID, and a lot of these these NGO Catholic associations were the biggest recipients of money from USAID. They were literally getting billions of dollars. The Trump administration has come out now and said they were the ones funneling a lot of these immigrants into the United States through third-party NGOs because nobody really suspected to look at Catholic NGO organizations. Do you have anything to say about this?
I was silencing the dog. Hold on. Yes, and I have to recenter myself. Not only with the Catholic bishops, but also there was a big, not investigation, but there was a big thing that came out about Protestant, Lutheran, other churches also essentially receiving and then funneling a lot of money towards the whole illegal immigration people and helping them and facilitating their stay in the U.S., which now, of course, goes against what President Trump and everybody else is trying to do.
Yeah, and we did get a comment yesterday saying Taylor Marshall was not a good source for Catholic news stories. But what you have to realize, if you're getting traditional good sources of Catholic news stories, they're not going to say anything bad about the Catholic Church. I want to know what's going on. Taylor Marshall is like a watchdog when it comes to the Catholic Church, and if anything bad happens, I want to know about it. Overall, I do support religious organizations and things like this. So what were you going to say?
Well, also, if you have any other sources or if you have suggestions, I mean, those are also always welcome, and we love to find new places to find information, especially if it's outside the mainstream.
Okay, let's go into the next story here. We got Bill Gates warns of millions of deaths if Trump and Musk don't reinstate axed foreign aid from USAID.
Trying to see if I had a article about this.
So there was a couple of news stories that came out about Bill Gates today. This was one of them, and he's absolutely desperate to get this USAID money back because it was, I think yesterday I reported it was $4 billion worth, which is a huge amount of money. But there was another story that came out about, I believe it was AI chips. Microsoft is developing all kinds of new technology that just came out today. This could just be Bill Gates trying to show the government or the Trump administration they need him now more than ever because he's on bad footing with RFK, Donald Trump, and a lot of people within the administration. And a lot of his competition, such as Musk, who's the guy that runs Facebook?
Mark Zuckerberg.
Mark Zuckerberg. They're all getting in good with Trump, and Bill Gates is kind of on the outs right now. So if they can hamper his business of Microsoft or anything like that, I'm sure they would love Trump to do that. So Bill Gates saying he has new technology in the form of AI, which no other company has. I would like him to prove that, and I would actually like to see proof of life, or does this technology actually exist other than him saying it exists?
Yes. I don't know much about this story, so.
Oh, okay.
And I couldn't find the article.
Okay, we'll move to the next story here.
Yes.
One more thing on that. He's saying that a lot of people will die. A lot of people were taking this as him threatening the Trump administration that some kind of virus may be released. I don't know if I would go that far into it, but I know he's trying to get a meeting with RFK right now, so it's going to be very interesting. I'm still keeping an eye, and I will report to you guys if he does end up getting a meeting with RFK. Okay, the next the next story actually involves RFK. RFK Jr. names first. Oh, this was what this was. So this was the headline of a news article, and I kind of brought this story up because the way they're framing RFK and Trump's appointments within the news media is completely biased, and I was disgusted with the way they framed this. But the article headline was, RFK Jr. names first targets on chilling
speech as health secretary.
Yeah.
I think I have it pulled up here. So Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has revealed some dark priorities in his first speech to HHS staff, Health and Human Services. Now that he has been confirmed as Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s plans to put his frightening ideas about public health into action. Kennedy made a speech to HHS staff at the Washington, D.C. headquarters Tuesday and announced that he planned to begin investigations into whether antidepressant medications and the childhood shot schedule are responsible for chronic diseases in the United States. The speech was intended for staff only, although a live stream link was distributed. Nothing is going to be off limits, Kennedy said, and urged staff to keep an open mind. We will convene representatives of all viewpoints to study the causes for the drastic rise in chronic disease. Kennedy added, some of the possible factors we will investigate were formerly taboo or insufficiently scrutinized. And so then they go on to the comments in the article, saying Kennedy's comments on childhood shots contradict his testimony during his Senate confirmation hearings, where he told the Senate Finance Committee, I support shots, I support the shot schedule, I support good science. Several medical studies have debunked claims, and then they go on to say that just keep putting
this article was
needles in your children's arms.
This article is complete propaganda, and it's not that he's against vaccines. He's against certain vaccines.
That's the word I've been trying to avoid this whole time.
And then he also was against the redefinition of what a jibby jab was, because they had to redefine it in order to call it a vax. When the mRNA came out, because that's not traditional in any way, shape, or form. I did have a picture I forgot to send to you, but I'll just kind of give off some of the data that I had that went with this story. Okay, in 1970, 1 in 10,000 kids had autism. That in 1970 is when the shot list came in for children. Right now we're up to 74 shots by the time the kid is how old?
I believe like 9?
By the time he's 9.
Or even younger, 7.
It looks like it's shaping up to look like there's a direct link between these shots and the amount of shots and autism. So in 1970, it was 1 in 10,000 kids that had autism. Then in 1995, it was 1 in 1,000 kids that had autism.
Don't say autism so much, because then they will know what we're talking about.
Then
YouTube, I mean.
We can go all the way up into recent time, and that's in 2020. 1 in 3 kids are autistic.
Are on the spectrum.
So we're going from 1 in 10,000 to 1 in 3. Something's happening.
1 in 3 are on the spectrum, don't have full-blown
yeah, but even full-blown is extremely high now.
Yes.
So this is something's going on, and if you don't know RFK, he's not somebody that just spouts off nonsense. He's been involved in this for decades now. He's a lawyer. He's taken on some of the biggest companies and corporations within the United States, including the government itself. He's won case after case and set precedent after precedent when it comes to jibby jab cases, when it comes to environmental cases, and when it comes to basic different cases within health involved in health.
And also because the environment and all his previous activism and cases as a lawyer also have a lot to do with chemicals, with what's being put into food, put into soil, put into pharmaceuticals. So he has a long period of being very well versed in all of these things, and not just himself, but relying on people that also do studies that sometimes go above and beyond what, for example, a pharmaceutical company that wants to sell these pokey things to parents and pediatricians and children ultimately will ever do. So there is a lot more investigation, and before this link between being on the spectrum and the shots used to be very murky, and it tried to be debunked a million times. And recently, more and more physicians and pediatricians and doctors have been willing to come out and say, hey, there might actually be a link. And not just with that, but as the article says, well, as RFK says, between chronic disease, chronic illness, and the amount of medications that are being given many times without either the appropriate research being done on them, into the side effects, or just the efficacy of them at all. I mean, we saw it with what happened during the 4 horrible years when they started giving these shots to people without really researching. Well, what happens if a lot of the other ones that are on the schedule being given to small children not only maybe don't have the efficacy or the studies behind them that they pretend to have, but also have, for example, dangerous metals, dangerous chemicals, things that little children shouldn't be taking, especially because we tell pregnant women, for example, not to eat fish, and yet a lot of the shots that are given to newborns basically have mercury. So what's the connection there? Sorry.
Okay, that's all right.
I can spout off on this topic for a long time.
I'm just realizing I have a ton of more stories here, and we've kind of gone...
And we do have one thing from Daniel Flores.
Yeah.
Just a comment saying, are we going to do Are we going to do something about the J.D. Vance's speech in Germany? We did speak about it on a live previously.
I'm gonna bring it up again because he gave another speech today.
He also asks, how deep do you think Christianity should permeate in the U.S. in this political era? I agree in the importance of its formation of the West, but I'm worried about fundamentalism in politics today.
Okay, I think I have a very unique view on Christianity when it comes to the government now, and it's completely different than what I used to have. When it comes to wokeism came from a liberal foundation, and a liberal foundation has no set moral values. If you ask a liberal what are their moral values, they'll tell you something today, and in a decade they will completely change. They can go from anti-war to pro-war because they have no set values. The values come from the top down as dictated by...
And not just a decade, in like a month or a week, they can change just...
Yeah.
Whenever.
But liberalism has a similar framework where it gets its moral values as the Chinese Communist Party. It's basically given from the top down. Now, Christianity works separate from government. I think it should be involved in the culture and have a huge influence on politics, but there needs to be a separation of church and state. But it should influence the laws and the morality of the society. I also, when it comes to Christianity, I don't agree with every sect of Christianity. I like the ones that have non-moving moral foundations. And when I looked into all the religions that had non-moving moral foundations, such as Islam or Christianity, such as Orthodoxy or traditional Catholicism, Orthodoxy or traditional Catholicism really looked like the best non-moving moral foundation for a society to have its culture based on. That way you don't have the government running away with crazy ideas such as chopping off children's you-know-what and things like this, saying there's 72 genders and things of this nature. I think religion, when it has a non-moving moral foundation, really keeps society set, and it gives the government guardrails. So I think it's very important. Christianity has a very important role to play, but you also have to make sure it's not involved in government too much, because liberal moral values actually come from the government and they're connected at the hip. It's not as the government's moral standards change, liberal moral standards change, and we've seen this in recent years.
And I think when you say liberal, you're not talking about classical liberalism, which also kind of intersects a lot with conservatism.
No,
on free speech, on matters of free speech and things like that. Yes, it does.
No,
but progressivism and the value set of classical liberalism is, I think, what you're getting at. But I was also going, okay.
I'm completely
yourself.
talking about classical liberalism.
Okay,
Classical
explain
liberalism, it seems like it's great on the surface, but it slowly moves in a progressive direction. And only because of wokeism, when it moves super fast, did we ever realize. If it would have kept moving slow, it would have gotten to the same point that wokeism got, but it would have moved so slow, people wouldn't have noticed, and their society's moral values would have changed.
Okay, but would you say that free speech is important? Because within a more Catholic tradition, there is no free speech.
Well, that's why I said the government and the church had to be separate. Because the church needs to influence culture. The culture will then influence laws.
Yes,
and I believe in constitutional law.
Sure. And I agree that there does need to be in society. Hold on. I hope everybody's okay. Best of luck. I do agree
they can't hear that our microphones don't pick that
I
up.
do agree that there has to be a non-moving moral foundation, and that religion is important for society and to build society as a whole and to give it structure and meaning. But at the same time, for example, I am not religious, don't think I will ever be, never say never, but I do see the importance of it and the importance of, for lack of a better term, regimenting a society and constructing a society within a moral framework that is unmoving, because now we're seeing what happens when you take that away from previously pretty good societies that had built, empires, basically.
Well, we also have to realize that a lot of scientific innovation and liberalism actually came out of Christian nationalism in the United States and in Europe as well. Mm-hmm. So it already has a good copacetic relationship with a lot of liberal values, which I'm not against all liberal values. I just don't like the moving moral foundation aspect of it. And science also has a very good relationship within Christianity. So I think
nowadays,
but
not within all of Christianity.
But I think
either.
it can work well together. If you have to look at other non-moving moral foundations such as Islam, I'd much rather pick Christianity over that.
Well, yes, because it is what we're kind of based upon in all of the societies we've lived in. And I forgot what I was going to say, so move on. Please.
Okay, I'm going to go rapid fire here because we're kind of getting bogged down. I got a lot of stories here. So Viva Fry had an interview with a South African gentleman, and I just wanted to take this opportunity, where if you haven't watched Viva Fry, it's a good channel, but he did interview a South African, and I wanted to bring the topic up again because they're not allowed to talk about this within South Africa. Donald Trump recently brought it up by putting a 25% tariff on South Africa and saying that if there are any South African refugees that have their life threatened, that they can immigrate to the United States under refugee status.
Well, they would get refugee status. They wouldn't be refugees when they leave South Africa. But basically, the ones that have been discriminated and threatened,
their lives are being
it's a small minority.
Yeah, lives are being taken in mass on a mass scale within South Africa because of these farmers' race.
Yes.
But I just wanted to bring the thing up so we can keep bringing awareness to subjects that. Like in Great Britain, you're not allowed to talk about certain subjects. In South Africa, you'll get arrested for certain subjects. A lot of countries around the world, people can't report what's going on in that country. So it's important for channels like ours and other channels to talk about what's going on in those regions. Otherwise, nobody's going to know. And the governments are just going to get away with arresting people for memes or whatever else they want to do.
Yes. And who's Viva Fry, by the way?
Oh, Viva Fry and Robert Barnes have a channel called
it's Viva Barnes, and they have a channel on locals. Eventually, hopefully, we will have
it's on
one
YouTube.
Too. And on YouTube. But so the thing is, their channel on YouTube is called Viva Fry because Viva Fry started it. On locals, they are Viva Barnes. locals.com, but check them out if you don't know who they are. It's very interesting, like legal intricacies. Viva Fry is Canadian, which is how I at least found him, and Robert Barnes is a constitutional lawyer from the United States who is very, very smart, and he's been in some very important cases as well.
Well, he's the best constitutional lawyer, and the reason I watch that channel is for Robert Barnes.
Yes.
And he's very close to the Trump administration as well, so he has a lot of insider knowledge. He's probably one of my best resources to get insider information about the Trump administration that nobody else knows. So I highly recommend Robert Barnes, and it's through Viva Fry's channel.
Yes.
The next thing we have going on is Japan is warming ties with China. The new Japanese prime minister is warming ties with China. This is a shift away from what was going on under the Biden administration. Japan was weaponizing and getting ready for war with China. So now it's good that a new prime minister is there. Just because Japan is so close regionally with China, you don't want a war breaking out over there. You want to stay on good terms with your neighbors. So I think it is important for countries like Japan to have good relations with China. It's another thing for countries outside of that region. But Japan specifically was really militarizing their country, and it would look like they were going to be the tip of the spear when it came to a war with China if that broke out. Mm-hmm. Do you have anything else with that?
No.
Okay. This is a Christianity story, so we're just talking about Christianity. Yeah. But Bob Amsterdam was on Tucker Carlson, and he was talking about USAID again, helping Zelensky destroy Christianity with fake churches and violence within Ukraine. And I had known a lot about this because when I first started researching Ukraine when the war broke out, I knew they were shutting down massive amounts of churches within Ukraine, and there seemed to be some kind of funding. I didn't know at the time, we didn't know it was USAID funding all these fake churches popping up in Ukraine. But I do recommend watching the interview with Bob Amsterdam on Tucker Carlson.
And Robert Amsterdam. That's how he is on X.
Yeah, if you want to find the full interview was on YouTube, Tucker Carlson's YouTube channel, so you don't have to pay for it or anything. Mm-hmm. Okay, the next one was CPAC is going on right now in the United States. So we went to CPAC in Mexico City when it was here, and it was good. Sorry if I'm not letting you talk. I'm trying to get through a few stories.
No, it's okay. And these are stories that you know more than I do. So
okay, J.D. Vance today gave it was less of a speech and more of a sit-down interview, and he was talking about the EU's friendship with the United States is based upon shared values, but the EU and Germany no longer have those shared values. So this is kind of like what I was saying yesterday on yesterday's show, that the United States looks like it may be preparing for a divorce with the EU. It will still have influence over it, but I don't think it's going to have its back like it used to. It just keeps pointing out and trying to nudge the EU back in the direction of free speech and aligning itself with the people. But the elites and the academics in Europe just don't want to have anything to do with the normal people.
Yes.
And this does go back into J.D. Vance's other speech, which was probably one of the best modern day speeches ever given. And it was at the Munich Security Council the other day. Yeah. And it's having massive repercussions. He really gave the talking points for all the right-wing parties within Europe that are being called racist and right-wing, exactly what they need to say to realign themselves with the people and get the support from the people so they can win these elections.
Yeah, and I mean, he said at CPAC while he was sitting down, he said, "I will take a standing ovation for a speech I already gave," because they were all cheering for him for the speech and for what he said, especially considering the implications for free speech and what is happening in Europe, which is almost unbelievable, especially if you're in the States and have never had to even really suffer through that, because somehow free speech has still mostly been kept alive.
Yeah, with that speech, for me personally, I know who J.D. Vance was because of Robert Barnes for a long, long time. He was the person that he wanted Trump to pick J.D. Vance as the vice presidential nominee when nobody was talking about J.D. Vance. So I've known about him for a long time, and because of Robert Barnes having a big influence on me, I would say.
And also because he has a movie based on him.
Well,
I knew him because of that, because of, what's it called? It's not Redneck. Something eulogy.
But
Elegy.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
Hillbilly Elegy.
Hillbilly Elegy, there we go.
But I knew about him for a long time, and I thought he was a good pick and a good candidate, but I wasn't sure about going into 2028 because Trump's not going to be there if RFK was the better choice, or J.D. Vance, or even Kash Patel or Vivek Ramaswamy. But after that speech which J.D. Vance gave in the EU and everything he's been doing, he is not only the front runner, I think he is really starting to solidify himself as the future of the MAGA party and the future of the leader of the free world. He's extremely well spoken. He may be divisive in some of his ideals, but he can explain why he's come to the conclusions he has.
Yes.
So if you haven't seen this speech from J.D. Vance at the Munich Security Council, I highly recommend it. It was amazing. And it has the European elites running scared right now. Okay, the next story we have is Canadian Liberals are talking about a UBI for all Canadians. So this comes up from, what's the major candidate right now?
Gold?
No,
Because here it says Liberal leadership candidate Gold promises to open path to a basic personal income, but Matt Carney, essentially.
Mark Carney. So I was saying that Canada was trying to destroy the Canadian economy before Justin Trudeau left office to introduce a UBI. And this was a hypothetical when I was saying this maybe about a year ago. Now it's coming to fruition. And I keep reporting on any time a Canadian politician says this, I report on it almost instantly. Mark Carney just gave the speech yesterday, so I'm reporting on it today. We're one step closer to a universal basic income in Canada, and that's one step closer to socialism and eventually communism. The country will collapse, the dollar will collapse if they introduce a UBI. They have no way to actually finance it, so they're going to have to just print money.
Yes.
Okay.
And I mean, a UBI is also, it's very worrying and dangerous because it is, after all, the government giving you money, enough money for you to survive or subsist, but they also have almost full control of that money, especially if they also bring in at the same time central bank digital currency, which would be even more scary than a crypto scandal, because once again, that money can be traced and used to implement government policies, even if they are just hidden or just quietly, because they can allow you or deny you from using that money that you get every month for certain things if they don't want you purchasing those things. For example, meat.
Well, I do need to say, because we lived in Canada, I know a lot about the legislation there. Everything's already been pre-approved legislatively for digital currency and for a programmable digital currency, meaning the government's going to have complete control over what you buy and when you buy it, because they want the digital currency to be able to expire at the end of every month or whenever they determine. So you'll have to spend the money in your bank account.
Yes.
And the reason they want it like that is to pump artificial money into the economy to make the economy look bigger than it is. Okay, we'll go into the next one. The next one was actually...
Yale?
Where are we at here?
Yale?
No, it wasn't Yale. I already mentioned it, but Javier Milei gifted Elon Musk a chainsaw for Doge. Yes. So this was a pretty... photogenic moment for both of them, I guess, because Javier Milei is known for the chainsaw. So now that he gave Elon Musk one, hopefully some of that populism rubs off on Elon Musk. I know the liberals right now are really trying to demonize him, but in the eyes of the people, I think they love what he's doing. And man, I hope I just keep going, keep revealing the corruption, keep doing what you're doing.
But stop playing around with cryptocurrencies and don't let Elon start doing it as well. Don't give any more stupid ideas to people in power, please.
And right now, the reason I'm really support the Trump administration so much, even though he did almost nothing in his first term, but he did educate himself. So he's coming in on the second term and he's doing everything everybody hoped. He's really trying to reform the government. This is an experiment the world's never seen, especially on this level. They've seen it on much smaller levels in El Salvador or Argentina, but nothing on the scope or scale as the United States is doing right now. So I'm really hoping for good results, but we'll see what happens.
Yes.
Okay, the Yale scientist link. Why don't you read this, since there's words I can't say?
Yes, hold on. Yale scientists link COVID shots to alarming new syndrome causing distinct biological changes to body, something that if you were at all invested in what was happening with these medical experiments, essentially, you would know that, I mean, this is not new news, but at least now Yale is investigating it, even though a lot of other doctors who were discredited and fired and taken out of universities as researchers, they were been banging this drum for the longest time, but at least now they're making articles about it.
Yeah, and with Robert F. Kennedy as the head of the HHS now, I'm hoping for good things. Okay, the next story is
okay.
Trump has now said in two different speeches that he wants to give $5,000 refunds back to taxpaying Americans from the waste, fraud, and abuse that has been uncovered by Doge. So Trump wants, before the midterms go out, a tax check refund with his name on it with a big dollar amount. So that's what I'm getting from this.
Yes, so could taxpayers get a $5,000 refund for wasteful government spending? An idea to send taxpayers $5,000 refund check for wasteful government spending may be gaining traction. President Donald Trump said that he likes the idea of giving some of the savings of the Department of Government Efficiency, Doge, back to U.S. citizens. The proposal, being called a Doge dividend, appears to have been pitched by investment firm Azoria's CEO, James Fishback.
Well, I think this is an absolutely great idea, and if there's enough money there, which they're uncovering billions and billions of dollars, give it back to the American people. So then this will realign the people with the government and really have the people say, keep going to Trump, vote more Republicans in so he does have more consolidation of power so they can really root out all the corruption within the U.S. government. He also needs to declassify all these crazy black flag operations and events that have happened in the past in the United States if he really wants to align the people with the government. You don't just hand out money. We want to know the past transgressions of the U.S. government. And this is a good time to start coming clean.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the next story was, this was the most important part of the story, actually. Rep. Jamie Crockett asked, what are people going to do with $5,000 checks, sarcastically meaning $5,000 is nothing. Why would the American people even want that? They can't do anything with that. That's crazy. $5,000 is a shit ton of money. It's a lot of money unless you're uber rich, probably funneling money from USAID into your own pockets.
And disconnected from the real world.
Yeah. So people would love to have $5,000 checks. They're also going to love when he declassifies all the past transgressions of the U.S. So the Democrats just don't know what to do right now.
And I mean, I was going to say it's going to sound funny that we just shamed Canada for wanting to bring in a UBI. But the thing is, I mean, would these checks come traced and allotted, or would it just be a return back to the citizens, just like any other tax return? Probably the latter. I mean, it would be probably just like a tax return. But, I mean, we did just criticize it.
But he did find that
basic income a lot, but it wouldn't be that.
He rooted this out of government, so it's money that they're saving. So if if there's money there to give the American people, to align the American people with the government, to really root out the corruption that is in there, I want to see it.
Yes.
Okay. The next story is...
just pick one.
There's just one left.
Okay, good.
There's actually two, but I'm going to skip the one because it's too long.
Okay.
Okay. Trump held a Black History Month event at the White House, and he had Tiger Woods there. Trump, as we know, is a huge golfer. He spends a lot of time on the golf course. He'll talk crap on other presidents for going golfing. He does more golfing than any other president. And I actually watched when Tiger Woods was there, and Trump was introducing him and talking about him, and he seemed to be a huge Tiger Woods fan. Also at this Black History Month event, there were a lot of prominent black male figures that came up to the podium and had a lot of good things to not only say about Trump, but going forward in the black community. And it made me actually really hopeful because you're seeing a transition within the Trump community to placing a lot of hope in black males to represent the black community rather than black females, which I think they haven't been a good representation of the black community. We really need to get black fathers back into the homes because that's when the black community started kind of falling apart in the United States. Do you have anything else to say?
No, I mean, no. I literally forgot what I was saying
Well,
as it was coming out of my mouth.
I'll say a few things. The government is actually responsible for the downfall for a lot of the black community because after slavery did end in the United States, the black community had their own bank system, had their own economic system. The black family unit was very strong. Incarceration rates were very low. Having a traditional family household with a mother, a father, and children was very common, and it was very strong in the black community. The U.S. government kind of stepped in a lot of ways and broke up the family unit and did a lot of incarcerations by creating laws that would specifically target the black community. I'm definitely a believer that it starts with the family and the family household. So I would love to see black men be the head of the community again within the black community, because what's being put forth in the media are fat black lesbian ladies.
Yes.
Over the past however many years.
Yes. But that's the last of our news stories. I have to go back to edit the video that was once again supposed to come out today, which now it is 10:30 here in Mexico City. So hopefully I might try to release it before midnight, but if not, it'll come out tomorrow, Friday, and then possibly one on Saturday as well to make up for me being sick this week. But if you stayed this long, we went an hour and 16 minutes. Thank you so much for everybody that's still here, for everybody that watches the replay. And we hope you have a lovely rest of your night. Sorry if there were technical difficulties. I did see everything lagging, so hopefully nothing skipped. But if it did, sorry, not our fault. But hope you have a lovely rest of your night. Stay safe out there, and thank you.
Adios.
There you go.